All right, here we go. I think I'm live. Welcome to not quite Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year is tomorrow night. Tonight is the night before the New Year's Eve. What? Am I live? That's the question. I think so. All right, looking tonight at my general reading for February. I didn't do this last month. I didn't do it in January. I kind of just forgot about it, and then when I remembered, it was kind of too late. And I felt like I'd already done enough predictions looking at the horoscopes and also for January, so maybe I just didn't need to. But I'm back on track, and I'm doing my reading for February. Okay, I'm selling this cup. What does it say? Dreams come true. What do you know? I've been using this mug for like a month, and I think this is the first time I've actually looked at what it says. All right. I hope you can hear me. If you can't, then this is going to be a very muted tarot reading. Oh, we can. Keneal? Or is it Neil? Keneal? Welcome. Well, whichever it is, welcome. Thank you for joining in. If you have any tarot questions you want a reading on, you're the only one here so far, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, I need to warm up a little, and it's been a while since I've done one of these. I just haven't been doing these as regularly as I would like. My goal is to do them a few times a week, and sometimes it happens. K is silent. Oh, okay. So just Neil. Welcome, Neil. And I'm always curious where people are from. Feel free to shout out where you're at, because I don't think I've seen your name here before. Maybe it's like a Scandinavian name. I don't know. Could just be a plain old name. But welcome. And why don't I do a quick reading for Neil? I'll pick a card for you, Neil, just because you're the first to arrive, and see what the tarot has to say for you in February coming up. This is the reading you didn't even know you were gonna get, but now you are here. And the card that I see for you, Neil, is like content made specifically for one person. I know, but other people will watch this eventually. But this is a card just for Neil. Your February. And the card I'm seeing, Neil, is there we go. The Two of Swords, which is kind of a feeling of being in a position where you can't really act. You feel a little kind of defensive, a need to protect yourself and kind of just step away from getting too involved with things. And it's generally not the happiest of cards. I mean, it's not like you're going to have bad things happen to you. It's just because maybe in the past you've had to defend yourself a little more. And it's a position when you just feel like you need to kind of put up your guard against the world and just have a very clear boundary. But it's not a bad position. It's just a position that's necessary sometimes. But at some point, you're going to want to like relax a little more and just enjoy life a little more and take a little more risks. But sometimes we need to be in this position. But anyways, that's what I'm seeing for you, Neil. All right. So I think for this next month, February, how I'm going to do this reading is February is an interesting month because it's the shortest month of the year. Sometimes it has 29 days. Let me think. What year are we in? 2022. So this year it does not, right? 2004, 8, 12. Yeah, this year it does not. It's just a 28-dayer. So it's kind of a short month, which is, I always feel like the beginning of the year is very short because it's already almost the end of January. It's like, how did that happen? And then February comes along and it's even faster. And I've talked, though, about the shift. I haven't read on Ukraine again recently, but before I was seeing with Ukraine, it was showing up in a lot of my readings that late February, somewhere February, March, and there, some shift in the energy of the war is going to happen. And so I'm sure will play into this reading because that is affecting the entire world and how things interact and how the general nature of things. Psyoped by podcasts, so I am regrouping. What do you mean psyoped by podcasts? I'm not clear what you mean by that. I've heard the term psyoped, but I'm blanking on it. Should I Google it real quick? Let's see. Psyoped. I feel like I'll know it as soon as I read it. Military operations influence the enemy's state of mind. so you were sent into some alternate reality tunnel by. I mean, they're all kind of alternate reality tunnels, but you were sent along some reality tunnel that you've since renounced or something. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but yeah, I'm glad that you are. I think that happens, like, to everybody at some point. Like, it's just the nature of, like, cancel culture is the term that has surfaced a lot in the last few years, and I think that's when people kind of have buyer's remorse, because it's kind of difficult to have any kind of informational heroes, I guess, nowadays, because, like, everybody does something at some point that you feel like you can't trust, or you're surprised by who they are, or they do or say something that you just didn't expect. A post-left podcast called Red Scare tricked me into hate listening, and it demoralized me. Yeah, okay, I can understand what you're talking about. So, yeah, I don't really think you want my advice on anything, but I think that's good, though, that you are just aware of what the situation is. That's always a good sign that you're aware of whatever you're just aware of something. You've gone through some change, so I think that's always a good sign. And yeah, so fascinating that I mean, this is the age we live in, where more and more people are able to distribute their thoughts into the world, so that we're getting this more and more meshing of memes at different, like, everybody becomes to use that term, every man and woman is a star, that Aleister Crowley popularized. The idea that we're all, emanating energy and ideas out into the world more and more, because 1,000 years ago, very few people were able to have that kind of influence and effect on the world. The king, some religious leaders, and a few local officials, but other than that, like, the most 99% of the people couldn't have any kind of effect on the world. They were just surviving and absorbing the culture that was handed to them, and they had no way to affect it or object to it or whatever. So that's the nature of these things, is that the nature of media is that more and more people are. I was thinking about recently, I'm just kind of ranting, but I was looking at, I don't know, this is kind of specific, but if you look at world literature in the 1,000 years before Anno Domini, or whatever you want to call it, BC, 1,000 years before the modern era, if you look at literature back then, it was very, it changed very fast. Like, if you look, for example, the Old Testament and New Testament, or Homer, which I'm suspicious of being the same person, because the difference between the Iliad and the Odyssey is immense. Like, the Iliad is the most boring parts of the Bible, and the Odyssey is the most exciting parts. So there's this real shift in energy, and I think the Odyssey is 1,000 times better. And I think that's just because literature just really ramped up, because the nature of, like, storytelling, and I don't think it was just storytelling. I think it was like how people perceived the world and each other, and how they spoke and communicated. It just changed very fast because of media. So the point is, media changes how we speak and how we think, and we're certainly in a moment that is not likely to let up, I don't think. So anyways, enough ranting. Let me get to my February reading. I'm gonna do one card, but then if I feel kind of like maybe I need a few cards tonight. General world energy. I'm currently in Malaysia. As I've said before, I've been here the last, I don't know, 50 days or something, 60 days, since early November. I guess more like 70 days. Anyways, and I'm going next month. I'll be shifting to Thailand for 1 month. So that's my mental shift, is going to a different country. And that's always a big change. Always changes my energy. I drop some cards. And then I'll be in Japan for 3 months. And yeah, so I feel like whenever I do these readings for the month, it's always about my energy, but that's because, I'm connected to the world too. So this card jumped out at me, so I'm going to take this as the first card for tonight, which is Page of Cups. And in terms of the world energy, the Page of Cups is, I see this as a pretty positive sign for next month, as like a shift towards people bringing more emotional energy into the world and being receptive to it from others, which I think is pretty good. Literacy makes everyone a druid. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but yeah, feel free to elaborate. I'm a big Marshall McLuhan media studies fan. I love his stuff. And James Joyce. I talk about a lot about him on my other channel. Hey, Lisa, welcome. And yeah, so media is, for me, a huge part of what I mean by psychic powers. Is that psychic just means relating to the mind. So the ability to send your thoughts into the world and the ability to receive thoughts from others is just increasing with media. That's the nature of media. The instantaneous connection of things is, it's happening with our technology. And there's that old Arthur C. Clarke quote that technology, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's something like technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. So I think that's just, you don't need to know all the details to understand. Like the general pattern of things of mythology is that there are things that we see in stories like dragons, which are just ways of representing, in magic, magicians, that are just ways of representing forms that exist in all different eras and can be take on a variety of forms. But the fact is, dragons are just like, for example, these vast, scary monster things that are available to all of us. And there may not be literal physical dragons, but who knows, in the future, maybe there will be. And but we have the equivalent of things like dragons. We have forces in the world that are larger than any physical individual can deal with, and that we have to use our intelligence to overcome. So I see Neil says, ability to manipulate through symbols. Yeah, exactly. Manipulation of symbols is a huge part of magic, is manipulating symbols, because what I'm sending to you is coming from my brain, being transmitted into language, and you're taking it in through your ears and then retranslating it into your own ideas. So I'm throwing out symbols, you're receiving them, and you're also sending them to me but you're doing it visually with print. Or not print, but text. So yeah. So anyways, I totally got siderailed. Sideswiped. Sidetracked. I had the Page of Cups somewhere, but now he's hiding. Anyways, that was the first card, the Page of Cups. Now I do want to get it out, just so we can not forget him. So the Page cards, though, are not like the Knight cards. The Knight cards are about really full on force into the world. The page cards are much more like a page. They're learning to do these acts of action that the knights do, but the pages are still in a learning and experimental phase of trying things out. So I think this is just generally signaling, though, an overall positive emotional connective tissue and receptivity in February. That's what I'm seeing, a lot of that. But I want 2 more cards. That's what I'm feeling. Tonight we have a 3-card spread, if you want to call it a spread. It's not a spread, though. I'm just making it up as a 3-card reading. So the other I can't even talk tonight. The other energy that I'm going to look at next for February. And February is also kind of like the last vestige of winter. Winter starts to collapse completely in March, but it starts to go away in February. And I think that's, it's a thawing of more emotional connection. Our bodies and our minds are definitely connected to the seasons. And even if seasons are kind of collapsing as our environment warms up and so on, there's still a general pattern there. So, other key energy for February, what I'm looking at next. If you guys have any questions or anything, issues you'd like me to... Oh, did you guys see that? It jumped out completely. The Lovers. The Lovers, as I've talked about many times, is a card about a power that is larger than the individual. In the image of this, it's kind of like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and God, if you want to see it up here, or some angel. That basically it's a higher energy that is, these are just labels with language, but it's basically a higher energy beyond any individual control that is happening. And I see that largely taking effect. Combined with this Page of Cups card, though, I think it's a positive thing. February so far is looking very, I would say, optimistic. It's a resurfacing of a lot of emotional energies in a lot of different people. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling a third card that I want to look at. Third key energy for February. And if there's any aspects of the world you guys want me to do a quick reading on, just feel free to chime in now that more people have shown up. I'm down to read on anything tonight. So another card that jumped out. So this is again another one of my favorite cards, the 7 of Cups, which is a card of a lot of choices, a lot of access to a lot of different energies, and it's a key. Should I turn the fridge off? It's a key. The key of this card is that you have to make the choice, but I think since a lot of people are feeling this receptive emotional energy, and they're being kind of acted on from higher powers in a positive way, I think overall this is like basically, if it is connected to what I was seeing before with Ukraine, that energy of people just basically choosing that this war has to end, and it's just, they don't want it to go on anymore. Like, it's been a year. It'll be the 1-year anniversary coming up, and I think that's just something that people are tired of. So it's basically the choice is going to be there, the option is going to be there, and if enough people can agree to it, it will come to an end. I think that's what I'm seeing with this. So again, the 3-card energy I was looking at for February. Page of Cups, a lot of resurfacing, and this is relating to you. It means like you can bring your emotions into the world, connect with people a lot more. It'll happen whether you want it to or not. It's everywhere. It's just making yourself receptive to it when it does happen, and choosing it when you have the options. That's what this card is about, this 7 of Cups. There are a few negative options in here, but overall positive options and just people making that choice. So I'm excited for February. It looks very positive. And I hope you guys have some wonderful plans coming up. I think that's all I really have to say about February, unless you guys have any other questions or anything in the news you want me to read on. I'm down to do a quick reading. There's 5 people or so here. So anyone has a question, personal question. I read on Neil earlier when he was the first to arrive. And if anyone else wants a personal reading real quick, I can do a quick 1-card reading for February. If not, I will just close out, and take out the trash. Nobody? Anyone? Going, gone? I think I haven't done a lot of readings lately, like psychic predictions, because I don't know. I haven't really had things that I've wanted to do a reading on. Like nothing's really inspired me. The last reading I did was for Andrew Tate, and that got a good reaction. Actually, it got a lot of views, a good amount of views. And I would like, if there's any other people you'd like me to do readings on in the future, I'd be up for doing that. I've done a lot of them in the past, and I guess there just hasn't been a new personality that I've wanted to read on. But tomorrow is Chinese New Year's Eve. So I will not be reading tomorrow, but at some point in the next few days I will start again, and hopefully I'll come up with a new topic. I see a question. Lisa. Yeah. Will my brother and mother ever reconcile? He's abandoned her. Okay, yeah, I'll do a quick reading on that. Excellent. Let's see. Let's see. So I'll do a 2-card reading. I'll look at the present state of that relationship, and then I'll look at, let's say, like the next 5 years. I'll look at that time frame, unless you have a different time frame you'd prefer. But that'll be okay. So this is what I see for the current state of things, which is like you were saying, very estranged sort of state in which nobody feels that they can act, or at least I feel like this is more your mother, and I'm feeling that energy is basically what you're talking about. So I don't think I need to comment on that. You're aware of that. You're aware of that situation. But let's look for the next 5 years between your mother and your brother, and see. Nothing coming up yet. It's very... Still not getting any clear reading. There we go. A lot of jumping cards tonight. Page of Cups, which we just talked about earlier with February's energy. Interesting. So I would say this is hopeful. This is definitely hopeful. I would say that if if it sounds like your brother's the one that you're not talking to so much, from what it sounds like. So I'm guessing that all basically you and your mother can do is be receptive to his energy and communicate to him as much as you can, but be aware that like I said, this card, unlike the Knight card, is not about taking a lot of action. A lot of it is just kind of leaning back when you need to and not pushing him too much, because I don't see that helping. But I think it does look not completely lost. I would say that there is a lot of potential there, and I think that I'm not clear on why he's abandoned her, but that there is potential for that to heal. So I hope that does give you some hope. Does anyone else have any other questions they'd like me to read on? Why don't I do, since you asked, Lisa, I'll just do a quick one card reading for you for February, general energy I see. And I'll do my, in a few days, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do. In a few days, I'll do my horoscopes for February. So today's 20th. Probably do another prediction before then, but usually around the 23rd, 24th, 25th. So, but Lisa, for you, your specific February energy. I'm seeing and if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to chime in. Oh, here we go. This card has come up again as well. Interesting. So I think what happens when I see a pattern like this, this came up with Neil earlier on. I don't know if anyone else was here for this, but he was the first to arrive, so I did a quick reading for him. Actually, I don't know if Neil is him or her, so I shouldn't assume. So that name is, yeah. So anyways, but Lisa, this energy is about kind of a defensive posture of a need to recover a little and to protect yourself. And so I think, though, in terms of that energy with February, I think a lot of people are going to be in this position in February. They're recovering from some trauma or damage or fighting or some kind of negative event in January, and they kind of take a step back. They say, like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. But with that Page of Cups card, they want to connect and they want to be out there in the world and making these bonds, but it's difficult when you come back from this. But I think the best thing you can do with this is don't rush yourself. Like, if you do feel the need to be a little protective, don't rush yourself, but just realize that you're the one that decides when you need to go forward. Oh, I got another question. No, it's gone. Never mind. Yeah, so yeah, Lisa, that's what I'm seeing for you, that you may feel the need to be a little protective in February, but it's not, it's healthy when you need to do this, but it's not healthy to be in this state forever. So just when you're ready, like, be willing to lower your guard, because I think the universe is going to be very receptive to a lot of people in February, and it's just a matter of being willing to kind of shift into that energy of spring coming. It's not quite there in February, but it's beginning to manifest, and then it kind of blooms forth more in spring. Yeah, so I think if nobody else has any other questions, anyone else, quick readings, I'm willing to do it. I'm not in any rush right now. Otherwise, I'll call it a night. And remember the message from my mug that I just noticed tonight. I was saying this. I've had this mug in this Airbnb I'm staying at for like 50 days, and I just noticed that it says "Dreams come true." So, I do see another question. My person current feeling towards me and separation. When will my person and me reconcile? Yeah, let me. I see another question too from Neil. Neil, you're asking a question. Let me. I will get to you. Yeah, totally. So let me address first. So love. You're asking about your person, their current feeling towards you, in separation. When will my person and me reconcile? Okay, let's look at that. So I'll do just like I did with Lisa, relating to her mother and brother. I'll look at the current state of things, and then I'll look at at what you can expect in terms of reconciliation. So the current state of things, current energy between you. And I'm reading right now for love. This card came out. Interesting. So this is the Lovers, which means that we've had 3 cards that have shown up twice, which is interesting. That's definitely a pattern. And like I said earlier, the Lovers is about energies that are higher and larger than you, that are affecting the situation, and that you can't really do. You can try to affect things, but really you can just be yourself, and the energy is much larger than you. So I think does seem to be already this coordinating energy happening. I wouldn't try to rush it, but it does look positive, I would say. Let's look though at the near future. Why don't I look? This seems like a closer. Why don't I just look for the next 3 months, whether you can expect any kind of reconciliation? And I'm reading, like I said, for love or love. And while I have a second, actually, Neil, you're asking about your comics career. Can you? I'm curious because I did a course on my other channel. I don't know. For all I know, that's how you found my channel here. But on Clip Studio Paint / Manga Studio, I did a software tutorial a long time ago. So I'm curious, what kind of comics career is it? Writing, penciling, inking, like coloring? What kind of aspect are you most interested in? I'm just kind of curious, but I'll get to your question in just a minute. But yeah, let me finish up first with Love, your question about, I'm just looking at the next 3 months, whether you can expect to reconcile. And what I'm seeing, so I'm seeing a death card, which is usually about rebirth and something new. So in terms of that Lover's card that I was seeing before, I was thinking that it was going to lead to reconciliation, but I'm feeling, I think there's two possibilities with this death card. It could either be a new relationship and new person that is being coordinated with that Lover's card, but it could also be the original. So I think I need the original relationship that you were talking about. It could be that kind of rebirthing and starting anew and fresh, because it can't be the same as before. I'll do another card reading just to make sure which it is, whether it's the same person that you're talking about or whether it's a different person. And again, I was looking for the next 3 months for you. So I want to see if it's the same person or a different person. I knew you were asking about if it was the same person, but the fact that it's death, which usually means like a rebirth and fairly new situation, makes me wonder. So I see with this a 7 of wands. So I'm feeling that it does seem to be leaning towards the person that you were talking about, because this is about kind of keeping other ideas away so that you can maintain your current focus and the things that you currently are putting your energy towards. So yeah, I would say in the next 3 months, there's a good possibility of you guys getting back together. Love. All right, let me get to Neil's question about your comics career, and I see you haven't replied, so I'm curious. Basically, I was trying to find out the current state. I guess I'll look at it right now. Like, I'm not clear if you're currently a comics professional or if it's you're just an aspiring comics professional at this point. So let's see. Comics is a very difficult profession to make it in, because it's very competitive. Let's see. I would do everything myself, possibly a self-publishing project, but I have been unproductive due to, in part, to being sad because I haven't formed the learning connections. Yeah, I was saying that comics is a very difficult profession, and one thing that what I've I'm not a comics professional. I've done a fair amount of comics actually, but not professionally. Just like amateurish stuff, and I know, but I've been to several conventions, and I know that if you need to network. It's a field where you have to network. So if you can go to a convention, I would say go. If you oh Charles Burns. Oh yeah, I did a review of what Black Hole, I think, a long time ago. I remember. Yeah, so that's awesome. But yeah, I'll read for you. But yeah, just before I read, I just want to say that yeah, you have to network as much as you can. Go to conventions. If you can't go to a convention, like network on Facebook or wherever you can. There's a lot of groups. I think there are groups on Facebook for comics professionals to network and do what you can because that's essential. It's a field where people hire people they know and people they like, and it's just a lot easier for people to remember you if they've seen your face rather than just a few samples of your work. So yeah. So it sounds like with self-publishing, there's a lot of options for self-publishing, in which you could either print it yourself and distribute it yourself, or you could like self-publish print on demand through like Amazon and Lulu and other services like that. There's a lot of options. You can just go digitally. There's no one right way, and you kind of got to try as much as you can to get out there. But it sounds like at this point though you haven't done a project. I guess my suggestion, well, let me read for you, but I think with a lot of people in any art form, a lot of times they want to, so I guess this applies to everybody that is trying to do anything, whether it's a website or write a novel or create a podcast or whatever. Like a lot of times they have this very grand vision, and what they really need to do though is to get started and just have that feedback loop building between themselves and an audience. So I think what I suggest with a lot of people is just rather than start with some vast project that's going to take you months, do something that you can get done as quickly as possible, and not bad, not cheap, but like, that you can get before an audience. Like even if it's just like a quick web comic on Instagram or something, just something that you can put out there right away, see if people are interested in it, get feedback, and start to build that connection with an audience, because that's so important nowadays with any art form or medium. Is you have to have audience interaction, which is why I try to do these as often as I can. So just a huge pile of notes, sketches so far. Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like you have a lot of ideas, and if you want to do a comic, I would suggest starting with something small, like either an 8-page story or maybe a 22-page one comic that I don't know, if a publisher is going to want that, but it's still going to be something that you could either show to a publisher or just that you can print and make and release somehow, or just release online and put it out there. So, but let me look though in terms of your long-term. Let's say in the next 5 years, is there a possibility of making it a career that is you're able to live primarily from, which is a difficult field. It's an art form. So yeah, it's definitely not easy, but that's a good idea. Lisa, that's the question. Let me finish this reading for Neil, and then I'll address your question. Yeah. So yeah, Neil, next 5 years, I'm saying. I don't know if you're aware, Neil, of the kind of podcast. Well, I guess it's more a YouTube channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe. I'll write it out because I don't watch it much. Every now and then I'll watch an episode, but the reason I mention it is because those guys, Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg, they're they're mainly just kind of self-publishing independent guys, but they've also done some work for Marvel and DC, I think. And I mentioned them though also that they're really good at marketing and promotion and networking because, like I said, those are very things you have to kind of get good at those things, and not everybody wants to do that. They just want to make their art and have it accepted and seen by the world. But that's you just have to realize that whatever you're trying to do, it's an art form. There's a million other people trying to do it too. Comics in the last 20 years has just exploded with possibilities and ways that you can do it. So both digitally and paper. So there's more comic production nowadays than ever before, and a lot of people not going for standard channels and creating stories that are very different from superheroes or traditional comics, what people think of as comics. Which I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just saying that if you want to make it in comics, you really gotta just study it and make it your thing and do it every day. I see you are well aware of cartoonist kayfabe. Oh, great. Okay, well, it sounds like you have a pretty broad knowledge of the comics field, at least. So I want to see, though, what you can expect in the next 5 years. And then I'll look also at the best way you can do that, like the best energy that you can kind of apply to your work. First, the next 5 years. I've talked in a lot of different places too about the importance of a daily practice if you're doing an art. Like, you don't have to do a lot. I mean, especially when you start out, because a lot of times if people have jobs or they're going to school or whatever, they have like families and stuff to deal with. Like they only have so much time, and it's just very difficult to get started. But I think if you can commit to just any small amount at first, like when I first started playing piano, I committed to 20 minutes a day. When I'm kind of working on a novel that I've been working on for the last few years that a lot of times I'll just sit on it for months. And today I just kind of messed with it for like 10 minutes or less, just whatever small amount, just start small and start a daily practice, because that's essential. And then grow it as much as you can to get it to as much time that you're able to devote to it, and start figuring out what you can get rid of to make that happen. And all right, so interesting. So I'm seeing the tower for the next 5 years in terms of what is possible. The tower is usually about an unexpected influence or event, and it could be positive, it could be negative, but I think it's kind of going to depend on you. Like, I think I'm feeling that you have energy relating to comics that you can do it, but it's going to be kind of a slow climb, but it can happen. And I think, going back to what I was saying, you got to basically commit to doing something every day, even if it's just 10 minutes to start, and go from there. But let's see what energy you can most bring into this. I did an interview on my other channel too with the publisher of Top Shelf Comics. It's been so long, I'm blanking. I'm blanking on his name too. I can let me find that real quick. It's worth watching, because he talks a lot about what he looks for when he publishes. I'm not saying that you have to go with the traditional publisher either, but he surprised me in that he's very open to looking at new cartoonists, and he's not so much concerned about what their fan base is or how well known they are. He's more concerned with how good is it, and if he likes it, then he's willing to take a chance on it. So I think there's only so many publishers in comics that you can really do that, but it is possible. Like I said, there's a lot of different routes into comics. Oh, it's Chris Staros. That's it. That's his name. So let me. I will link that to you if you feel like watching it, because I think he has a lot. Actually, he has a service too that he talks about in that chat, about where he does a portfolio evaluation, and he'll tell you can actually get like have a one-on-one meeting with him to discuss comics and what the next steps to do. But I think, like I said before, you got to network, you got to practice daily, and you got to be willing to market however you can and get yourself out there, because it may mean getting a booth at a convention. It may mean, because I met a friend of mine several years ago at the San Francisco Comic-Con, WonderCon. He had a booth and we talked, and then I had him on my channel for an interview, and that wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been at that booth. So I'm reading that you're saying you want to make paintings simultaneously, so I'll be able to make some standalone art objects more quickly, but making comics is more difficult, and like you said, like you inferred, will be a long climb. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I did comics, at some points I would try to get a page a day done, and some artists do much more than that, some do much less, but it's a lot of work to do a page a day. Sometimes, it could take several hours, and some artists will spend 8 hours all day on a page, which is, I think I decided at some point that I didn't want to do that. It's just a lot of drawing and sitting and staring, and I just wasn't into it. I moved more towards music and video, but I still do love comics, and I would like to get into it. But yeah, I think if you have some, I mentioned that guy that does comics that I met before at San Diego WonderCon. He has a day job as a tattoo artist, so it's not uncommon for people in artistic fields to have more of a day job. But the good thing about his day job is that he is still able to do art. It's not quite the same as comics, but it is art, and it's satisfying. I don't think it's what he wants to do as much as comics, but it's still, having your foot in the door in some way in the art form is essential. And if you can, even if you could work at a comic store, but I don't know, do they even have comic stores now? Yeah, so I can only offer so much advice, but I think that those are the three things that I can recommend most: is network as much as you can, talk with other people, see what they're doing, just network, and practice daily, and work towards something that you can get. It's good to have big projects. I think that's wonderful, but unless you're like Dave Sim and want to do a 300 comic series, that you can do it, but it's just, I think it's just more satisfying to have something, like focus on having a product that you can release like every month or two if you can, like something regular. That's so important nowadays, because nobody waits like there are people that work years between products, but it's just I think it's not the energy of the current moment, and it's a lot easier too to build towards a larger project rather than to just start on it right away. And people are more patient if they have something to look at and say, okay, he's done this, I'll keep an eye on him or her. But the energy, finally, let me get back to your reading. The energy that I suggest you apply most to your comics career is not coming. I'm not getting any card at the moment. I mean, relating to that tower card, there finally. This is the third time. This is the third time this card has come up in today's readings. So this, like I said before, this card is about being defensive, and in terms of applying this energy, though, I think it just means you have to be careful. Like I wouldn't, as an artist, you want to apply as much time and energy to your art, but I think if you don't have a foundation to stand on, you need to be a little defensive. So don't give up on your dreams. I always encourage people not to do that, but also you need to like plan and be efficient and be practical, not practical, but like tactical, like, plot things out. That tower card though suggests to me that either you could like have some kind of break and make it in comics, or it could mean that you shift into something else, some other field that is more interesting to you, or that you just decide to put your energy into. And it's really going to be, I mean, if you want to do comics for the rest of your life, you can. You may or may not make it professionally, but if you have a dream of releasing a comic or a graphic novel or whatever, then you can do it. It's going to really be up to you. That's the best thing I can see right now relating to that. I suggest you check out that talk I did with Chris Staros, and All right, so there was another question about Lisa. You asked, when am I going to do another World Current Events reading with the regional maps? Well, I kind of did the regional maps relating to specific aspects. Like I did it with relating to the economy, with like different things going on in the world, like war in the world. And I think the last time I did it was with this 2023. I did it for the economy and I did it for world conflict. So I guess I kind of feel at this point I don't really have something else I want to look at for 2023. But if you have any suggestions, yeah, please. You're welcome, Neil. Absolutely. I know it's very challenging to make it in comics. So hopefully wherever you're at, you're able to maybe locally find other artists and writers that you can just kind of network with, and really there's good and bad things about networking with people. Like if you network with the wrong people that can be that aren't making it, it can kind of like feel like you're being dragged down, and you can kind of accept that you're not going to make it. And whereas if you network with people that are making it and they're doing it and figuring it out, then that's very exciting and it can be very influential. So it's important to network with the right people that are actually acting in a very active way. I'm babbling at this point, but I've seen groups on Facebook. I would suggest you look there if you want to get started, because there are people that are releasing stuff, doing Kickstarters and releasing things in all kinds of different ways. I think I'm running out of speech tonight, you guys. If nobody else has any final quick readings, I'll just call it a night. Thank you all for showing up. And like I said, I will return maybe Sunday. I see your final comment, Neil, about painting. Yeah, if you're able to make money painting, I would recommend doing painting too, because that's certainly a wonderful art form that is will apply in a lot of aspects to comics. It's not the same unless you are doing painted comics, but yeah, that's a great example of kind of keeping your foot in the door of an art form rather than just getting a desk job or something. So if you're able to do any kind of art relating to comics, just do that in the day, and then a half hour every night work on your comics. Just get started with it. All right, y'all. I'm gonna call it a night, and thank you all for showing up. And have a good day, night, afternoon, morning, what have you. Have a good Chinese New Year if you're celebrating Chinese New Year. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, you guys.